السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So recall عرفنا في محاضرات سابقة functions and we defined for these functions the domain and the range. From this function we define sine inverse x and the domain for this function is -1 and 1 and the range minus pi over 2 and pi over 2. And we define another function cosine inverse of x where is the domain -1 and 1 and the range 0 pi. And we define another function tan inverse x where is the domain r and the range minus pi over 2 and pi over 2 where it is open from minus pi over 2 and pi over 2. And we have tan inverse x, we say this is equal x where x belongs to domain tan inverse, that means x belongs to r. And we define secant inverse x where is the domain from -infinity -1 union 1 infinity and the range 0 pi except pi over 2. And we define a new function لن x the natural logarithmic function where the base e the domain from 0 to infinity, that means inside the len must be positive. That means there is no mean to say len -2. Len -2 is undefined and the range r. And the inverse of len x we define a function e to the power x where the domain is r and the domain is the exponent. The domain for e to the power x we take the domain for the exponent. لاحظ إنه الباور x في الدومين r and the range from 0 to infinity. In this lecture we define two new functions log x for the base b and b to the power x. So our aim to define these two functions, what is the domain, what is the range, and what is the probability and وما هي الخصائص لهدول two function. So we say len x is a new function represent log x for the base e. And len x when the base e we say log x for the base e هو الفانكشن لن x. So this function the natural logarithmic function, but log x for the base b the common logarithm. هذا الشكل العام in general. But لن case is a special case for log x for the base b where we have log x equal ln x over ln b. Now what is the condition of x and b? X must be positive. Why? Since inside the len must be positive. What is the condition for b? b must be positive and there is another condition. The denominator does not equal 0. So we have b does not equal 1. Since if b equal 1 we have a problem. So the condition x be positive. That means the domain of log x for the base b from 0 to infinity. وما ينطبق على لن ينطبق على log إنه inside the log must be positive. Now if we take b equal e, if we take the base b equal e, substitute, you get log x for the base e equal ln x over ln e and this is equal ln x. فلاحظ إنه ln x هو special case from log x for the base b. When the base equal e we get the function ln x. Now we want to define this function and the domain and the range. So definition For any positive number b, for any positive number b, and b does not equal to 1, that means there is two conditions in b. إنه b positive and does not equal 1. Why it is positive inside the len, and why b does not equal 1? Since if b is equal 1 you have a problem. فمعناته في عنا two conditions على البيس على الأساس إنه positive number and does not equal 1. The logarithm function with base b written as log x for the base b is y equal log x for the base b. If and only if هذا الفانكشن this function this written equivalent to this. This is means x equal b to the power y. What is b? b is the base and b positive and b does not equal 1. So b is the base. Y is the exponent. That means it is a power. For example, log b, log 1 for the base b equals 0. This is the base. This is the exponent. This is means b to the power 0 equal 1. What do we mean about log b for the base b equal 1? This is means b, this is the base. This is the exponent, b to the power 1 equal b. If we have log for the base 2 equal 2, what does this mean? This is the base, this is the exponent. This equivalent to 2 square equal 4. If we say len e equal 1, what does this mean? This is means len, when you have len, that means the base e. This is means e to the power 1 equal e. If you have len 1 equal 0, what does this mean? The base for len e to the power 0 equal 1. Now log x ما ينطبق على len سوف ينطبق على اللوج. Log x always the domain must be inside the log positive, and this function is 1 to 1, so it has inverse b to the power x. So we define theorem. If b positive and b does not equal 1, then b to the power x and log x for the base b are inverse function. Before that, we say len x and e to the power x, they are inverse function. Now, instead of len, we have log, and instead of e, we have b. What is the domain for log x for the base b? Inside the log must be positive. And what is the domain for b to the power x? The domain for the exponent. لاحظ إنه الإكسبوننت x linear فمعناته الدومين r. So if you have f x 2 to the power x, what is b? b equal 2. So the inverse حيكون الانverse for this function log x for the base 2. Inside the log must be positive. If we have log x for the base 1 over 3, obvious b 1 over 3. So f inverse b to the power x and so on. When we have f x e to the power x, b equal e. So the inverse log x for the base e. لكن we write this function len x. So when you have len x, that means the base it will be e. Now, what is the domain? We have a new function. Any function you must know domain and range. So domain log x for the base b. To find the domain inside the log must be positive. So the domain from 0 to infinity. The range for log x for the base b, it will be r. Since log and b are inverse, so we have log b to the power x b equal x. كأنه log والb كنسلوا عم بعطينا x، أو حسب الخصائص هاي الx بإمكاني تيجي لهون so equal x. لكن في شرط، this x belongs to domain b to the power x. So x belongs to R. That means x belongs to the domain b to the power x. And also we have b to the power log x for the base b equal x. But this x for all x positive. That means x belongs to 0 infinity. When we take about the len, instead of b we have e. Instead of x we have len. Now, in general we have b, and instead of len we have log, and this x must be positive. So until now we define a new function, the general logarithmic function, and the inverse b to the power x, and we know what is the domain and the range for this function. Okay. Now, if we consider the function f of x equal 3 to the power x, obvious f is 0 equal 1. F il 1 equal 3 square. If you want to find f of 2, sorry, f il 1, 3 to the power 1. f2 equal 3 square. Il b equal 3. Now this function increasing. When x increase, the image it will be increase. So b equal 3 greater than 1. Obvious in this function f il x increasing function. That means when the value of x increase, the image it will be increase. Now, what is domain? What is domain? Domain f il x. The domain, it will be the domain of exponent, the domain of x r. And range f il x 0 infinity. If we take another example, if we take f il x equal 1 over 3 to the power x, obvious il b equal 1 over 3. That means il b less than 1 and greater than 0. If you want, find f0 1, f1 1 over 3, f2 1 over 3 square. When x increase, لاحظ إنه الإيمج decrease. فمعنى هذا الكلام that mean when b between 0 and 1 سوف يكون الفانكشن f ال x it will be decreasing function. Now, what is the domain? The domain it will be R, the same. And what is the range? It will be from 0 to infinity. So note the difference between the function f il x equal 3 to the power x and f il x equal 1 over 3 to the power x. This function, it will be decreasing. And when the base is greater than 1, it will be increasing. So, to sketch the graph, this function b to the power x. In general, this is b to the power x, and b to the power x increasing the domain from 0 to infinity. The domain is R and the range 0 infinity. So this condition, under the case b is greater than 1, you get increasing function. But when b between 0 and 1, the graph of the function like this. So this is the graph for b to the power x. But b to the power x, this b, the base, between so when b between 0 and 1, you get decreasing function. When b is greater than 1, we get increasing function. But the domain and the range, they are the same. Now if you take f(x) equal 1 over 4 to the power x, this function, it will be decreasing. Why? Since b equal 1 over 4. So this is graph. Okay. Find log. Before we do example, remember we say len a في b equal len a plus len b if a and b are positive. And the same for log. ما رح نرجع نكتبهم كمان مرة. We have log x في y for the base b also equal log x for the base b plus log x, y for the base b. What is the condition for x and y? Obvious, x positive, y positive, the base does not equal 1, and b positive. So they are the same. For example, find log 1000 for the base 10. This equivalent to x. You have أكثر من طريقة ممكن أفكر to solve this problem. This equivalent by the definition of logarithmic function 10 to the power x equal 10 1000 equivalent 10 تكعيب. The base are equal, that means x equal 3. Now we find the answer 3. What does it mean log 1000 for the base 10 equal 3? This is mean 10 to the power 3 equal. Now find log 36 to the base 1 over 6. This equivalent to x if and only if 1 over 6 to the power x equal. Now this equivalent to 6 to the power minus x equal 36, the same as 6 squared. Now the base are equal, so we get minus x equal 2. Since the base are equal, that means the exponent are equal. So x equal minus 2. So the answer minus 2. What does it mean? You find log 36 for the base 1 over 6 equal minus 2. This is mean 1 over 6 to the power minus 2 equal 36. Find log 27 over 8 for the base 3. This is equal x. This is the base. This is the exponent. This equivalent to 3 to the power x equal 27 over over, I think for the base 3 over 2. This is 3 over 2. Okay. So this is equal. This is the base 3 over 2 to the power x equal 27 over 8. Now the base different. We can write this equation in this form. 3 over 2 to the power x equal, you can write as 3 over 2 تكعيب. Why? 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27. So this one, this equivalent. Now, the base are equal. So the exponent equal. That means x equal 3. Now you find x equal 3. What does it mean? This is mean 3 over 2 to the power. What does it mean? 3 over 2. الباس 3 over 2 to the power 3 equal 27 over 8. Now, how to find log 2 to the power 40 to the base 32? This is equivalent x. By the definition of logarithmic function, this is the base. So this equivalent 32 to the power x equal 2. Now, الباس different, but you can write 32 هي عبارة عن 2 to the power 5. Why? 2 times 2, 4 times 8 times 2, you get 32. So 32 the same 2 to the power 5. This is to the power x equal 2. Now, 2 to the power 5x equivalent to 2. 5x equal 2 to the power. Now, they have the same base. So the exponent, it will be equal. So we get 5x equal, so x equal 8. What is the answer? So the answer, it will be 8. Extra problem, log 7th root for 32 for the base 2. How to find this value or simplify? This equivalent x. This is the base, so 2 to the power x equal 32 to the power 1 over 7. And this equivalent to 2 to the power x equal 32 equivalent 2 to the power 5 to the power 1 over 7. So we have 2 to the power x equal, you multiply the power 2 to the power 5 over 7. Now, they have the same base. معناته the exponent are equal. That means x equal 5 over 7. Log 10.001. You can solve this problem. You can write log. Okay. This number equivalent to 10 to the power minus 3. How you can simplify? بإمكاننا this number. So this is equal minus 3. Another method to solve this problem. What does it mean log 0.001 for the base 10 equal 3? That means 10 to the power minus 3 equal 0.001. How we can simplify this term? This equivalent to العلاقة subtraction. This equivalent to log and be careful, they have the same base. This equivalent log 2 24 to the power 1 over 3 over 3 to the power 1 over 3 من خصائص اللوج. This equivalent to, we can write this term in the form log 2 24 over 3 كلها to the power 1 over 3. This equivalent log 2 24 divided by 3 8 to the power 1 over 3. The cubic root for 8 2, so this equivalent to log 2, this is equal 1. So we simplify this term. This term equivalent to 1. So to practice أكتر, try to do homework log 625 for the base p, len الكيوبيك root للإي log 4 1 over 60. بأي طريقة بإمكانك solve it. Okay. Another example. Let h of x equal log 2 log the square root of x minus 2 for the base 2 divided by 3x. Find domain HLX. To find the domain, we have division, rational function. So to find domain HLX, you must find domain 1, هو this function, intersection domain 3 to the power x. So domain except the 0 for 3 to the power x. So domain h of x equal domain log 2 the square root of x minus 2 intersection the domain of 3 to the power x except the 0 of 3 to the power x. لاحظ إن 3 to the power x it will be never equal to 0. Now, how to find the domain for this function? The domain for this function, you must have this function must be positive. This function must be positive and x greater or equal to 0. So to find the domain for this function, the square root of x minus 2 greater than 0, and we have another condition, intersection domain this function, domain the square root of x, and x. Now, to solve this inequality, the square root of x greater than 2. That means 2, okay, now square both two sides, 4 less than x. Now, you want to intersection x greater than 4, but 4 is open. X is greater than 4 and x greater or equal to 0. Why this condition? Since we have the square root of x. So intersection x or greater or equal to 0. So the intersection for infinity. So the domain for this function open for infinity. Intersection. What is the domain for 3 to the power x? It is the domain for the exponent. Intersection r. So the domain for this function for infinity. This is a domain. What do we mean about a domain? Any element inside this interval has an output. If you take 1, one has no output. Since you get log negative, that means the domain. If we define another function, f of x equal log the absolute value x minus 3 for the base 2 plus 3 to the power the square root of x, find domain f of x. We have the operation addition. So domain f of x equal domain الفانكشن الأول the first function log the absolute value x minus 3 for the base 2. First find domain log intersection domain 3 to the power square root of x. Now, how to find the domain for log the absolute value x minus 3 for the base 2? To find the domain inside the log must be positive. Always inside the log is positive since you have absolute value. So the domain r except 3. Why except 3? Why? Since if you have 3, you get log 0. And log is 0 undefined. So the domain for this function r except 3. Why? Since if you take f3, you get log 2 for the 0 and this value undefined. Since the 0 is not included in the domain. Intersection. Domain 3 to the power square root of x. The domain is the domain for the exponent. To find the domain b to the power g of x, find the domain for the exponent. What is the domain for the square root of x? From 0 to infinity. Now, to get the answer, we make intersection between these two intervals. The first interval r except 3. The second interval from 0 to infinity. So, what is the intersection between two intervals? The intersection from 0 to 3 open, union from 3 to infinity. So this is the correct answer. If we write the answer B, 0 infinity, this answer false. Why? Since this interval contains 3, and 3 is not included in the domain. To practice for the domain, find the domain for f of x equal the square root x squared minus 7x plus 10 plus log 7 minus x for the base 3. Hint, to find the domain, you must find the domain for this function. How you can find the domain for this function? X squared minus 7x plus 10 greater or equal to 0. Intersection. How you can find the domain for this function? Inside the log must be positive. I hope enough to continue to get the answer. Now our question, how we can solve equation including exponential function, logarithmic function. What do we mean about solve the following equation? Solve, that means find x that satisfy the equation. And this x, when I ask you about solve the following equation, this means for you, find the value of x that satisfy of equation. And this x must belongs to domain FLX. Now, let we see the first equation, e to the power x equal to. Before we solve equation, what is the domain for e to the power x? So the domain for e to the power x equal r. So any value of x, it will be allowed for you. To solve e to the power x equal to cancel e, we take len to the both side. So take len equal len 2. Now you get len will e cancel, you get x equal len 2. This is the solution. Now 2 len x equal 4. لاحظ x inside the len. What is the condition of x? So x must be positive. Before you solve the equation, obvious in a domain must be positive. If you get x negative, we reject it. Now, how we can solve this equation? Divide by 2, you get len x equal 4 over 2. This is equal to. Take e to both sides, so we get e to the power len x equal e square. So this equivalent to x equal e square, and e square positive. This condition, since inside the len must be positive, so if you get number negative, you reject it, okay? Now, solve log x for the base 8 equal to this equivalent, that means x equal 8 square. And what is the condition of x? X inside the log, that means x positive. 3 to the power x equal 2. When we have e to the power x equal 2, we take len to both sides. Now, if the base 3, we take to the both side log for the base 3. If the base 2, we take to both sides log for the base 2. So, take to both sides log 3. 3 to the power x equal log 3. Now, this one equivalent to x. So this equivalent x equal log 2 for the base 3. Solve this equation. The base difference, so we can write this equation in the form 3 to the power minus x equal 27 equivalent to 3 to the power 2x minus 1. Okay, so this equivalent to 3 to the power minus x equal, we multiply 3 by 2x minus 1. 3 to the power 6x minus 3. Now the base are equal, so the exponent equal. So we get minus x equal, and obvious x belongs to R, الدومين R, الباور linear function. Solve this equation. 6x plus x مجرد نقلنا هاي لهون minus 3 equal 0. So 7x equal 3. So x equal 3 over 7. So 1 over 3 over x equivalent 3 to the power minus x. And we write 27 3 to the power 3. Now 3 times 2x, 6x minus 3. The base are equal, so the exponent equal. So minus x equals 6x minus 3. So this equivalent to 6x plus x minus 3. Solve this equation, you get x equal 3 over 7. Okay, yeah, this equation also homework to find the domain. To solve the equation, log 1 plus x equals 3 for the base 10. Before we solve, what is the domain for this function? The domain x greater than minus 1. Why? Since inside the log 1 plus x positive, so x greater than minus 1. Any value you find to solve this equation must belong to this interval. Now, this equivalent to 10 to the power 3. This is the base, the exponent, 1 plus x. So x equal 10 to the power 3 minus 1. Now, to solve the equation, ln 4x minus ln 3x squared equal ln 2. The domain, this is x positive, and the domain R except 0, so the domain for this equation x must be, so the domain x must be positive. Now, how we can solve this equation? Ln 4x minus 3 power ln x square cubic equal ln 2. This equivalent to حسب according للخصائص اللي حكيناها, this equivalent to ln 4x divided by x squared to the power 3 x to the power 6 equal ln 2. This equivalent to ln 4x divided by x to the power 6, 4 over x to the power 5 equal ln 2. Take e to the both sides. If you take e, we get 4 over x to the power 5 equal ln 2. This equivalent, you want to find x. 4 over ln 2 equal x to the power 5. To get x equal 4 over ln 2 to the power solve the equation. Now you have this function and this is function. العلاقة addition. What is the domain for this function? The domain for this one, x positive. And the domain for this function, x greater than 3. So the intersection between them, x greater than 3. So we have condition for x. X must be y, the domain for 1, intersection domain 2. How we can solve this equation? Plus equivalent law. Log x times x minus 3 equal log 10 for the base 10 1. هاي الإيكويشن equivalent to 10 to the power 1 البيس الإكسبوننت وهاي الأنسر equal x times x minus 3. Solve the equation. 10 equal x squared minus 3x. This equivalent to x squared minus 3x minus 10 equal 0. Quadratic equation, you can factor this equation. Open 2 bracket, x times x, 10, this is negative and this is positive, equal 0. The product of two numbers 0, that means x minus 5 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. So we get x equal 5 and x equal minus 2. Now, what is the answer? If we write A, the answer 5 minus 2, B 5, C minus 2. Which one is true? Be careful, we have x must be greater than 3. So, this answer, it will be rejected. And we can take 5 and minus 2. So, what is the correct answer? B. That means if you substitute minus 2 in the equation does not hold. You have a problem. You get log minus 2 for the base 10. And it is undefined. If you substitute log, you have a problem. Since this number is negative. Okay. To solve the equation, x squared minus 9 times ln x minus 3 equals 0. Obvious, the domain inside the ln must be positive, so the domain for this equation or this function x greater than 3. The product of two functions 0. This means x squared minus 9 equals 0 or ln x minus 3 equals 0. Be careful, x must be. Now, x squared minus 9 equals 0, this equivalent to x equal plus or minus 3. Ln x minus 3 equals 0, that means e to the power 0 equal x minus 3. So e to the power 0, 1 equal x minus 3. معنى هذا الكلام x equal 4. So we have the answer. If you write A plus minus 3, 4, B 4, C Which one you can choose? We choose B only. Why? Since any value of x must belong to this interval. So homework. حاول انك to solve 1 minus e to the power minus x time 25 minus x squared time ln x minus 2 equals 0. لاحظ the product of 3 function equals 0. Before you solve, what is the domain for this function? This function domain R and this function R, but this function x is greater than 2. So before you solve, find the domain. So any value of x must belongs to this interval. So as a hint to start the solution, you have 1 minus e to the power minus x equals 0, or 25 minus x squared equals 0, or ln x minus 2 equals 0. I hope to continue. And try to solve this one. So the domain R, hint for the solution, you can take a common factor. So we have, لاحظ إنه هون ما في problem على x belongs to R. Now product of two function equals 0, that means e to the power x equals 0, or 1 minus 2x equal 0. So this is impossible. There is no value of x such that e to the power x equals 0, and you can continue x equal 1/2. And also e to the power 2x plus e to the power x equal 2. Hint. First you can write the equation e to the power x plus e to the power x minus 2 equals 0. لاحظ x ما في مشكلة. It belongs to R. You can factor this equation. E to the power x times e to the power x, 2 times 1 plus minus, and continue. The product of two numbers 0, that means e to the power x plus 2 equals 0, or e to the power x minus 1 equal 0. So this one, it will be reject e to the power x equal minus 2, impossible. So you get only x equal 0. And also ln x plus 2 minus 2 ln 2 equal 1. To solve this equation, first you write 2 as a power ln 4. And you can solve this one. Ln log x for the base 10 equal minus 1. This equation equivalent to, but be careful, x must be positive. This equivalent to e to the power minus 1 equal log. This equation equivalent e to the power minus 1 equal log x for the base 10. And this one equivalent to 10, so we solve it. E to the power minus 1 equal x. This is the base, the exponent. And the last one, the solution set of the equation log 1 over x squared minus 7 equal to for the base 1 over 3. أعطيتك answer وهذا الجواب الصح، بس أنت بدك تفكر why this is true. Check. So until now, we must be able to find the domain for any function contains log g of x, and you must be able to find the domain for any function b to the power g of x. How you can find the domain for log g of x? Inside the log must be positive. And how you can find the domain for b to the power g of x? You must find the domain for the exponent. And also, we see how we can solve equations include logarithmic and exponential function. So let me say the last example. Find f inverse, domain f inverse, range f inverse for the following function. The first function f of x equal 3 to the power minus x plus 2. Before we find the domain and the range, b for this function 1 over 3. Why? 3 to the power minus x here 1 over 3 to the power x. So this function decreasing. This function decreasing. What is the domain? The domain for f of x equal the domain power of exponent equal r. And this is range f inverse. Now, what is range f of x? We know range b to the power x from 0 to infinity. So plus 2, range f of x from 2 to infinity. And it is the same for domain f inverse. Now, if you can't find the range directly, you can find the inverse. And domain f inverse, it will be range f of x. The procedure to find the inverse. Let y equal 3 to the power minus x plus 2. You want to solve x in terms of y. Y minus 2 equal 1 over 3 to the power x. To get x alone, we take to both sides log, for which base? So if the base e, you take len. If the base 5, you take log for the base 5. If the base 2, we take the log for the base 2. Log y minus 2 equal, we took log to the both side, log so this equivalent to x equal log so f inverse of x, instead of y, substitute x log so this is f inverse. What is the domain for f inverse? The domain for f inverse, x minus 2 must be positive, so x greater than 2. So the domain for f inverse from 2 to infinity, and it will be open. F of x equal log x for the base 3 plus 2. Okay. What is domain f of x? Domain okay, domain f of x inside the x must be positive, and the function inside, the function inside the log must be positive. So the domain f x from 0 to infinity, and this domain, it will be range f inverse. Now to find range f x, we must find domain f inverse. Now find f inverse x. So let y equal log plus 2. Solve x in terms of y minus 2 equal log. This equivalent to 3 to the power y minus 2 equal x. So what is f inverse x? So f inverse x equal 3 to the power x minus 2. This is f inverse. What is the domain for f inverse? The domain for f inverse, the domain for exponent, R. So domain f inverse x R, and this is the same for range f x. Now the domain for f x R. حاول إنك to find the inverse and continue how you can find. So domain f x R هو range f inverse. If we take the function f x equal 1 over 1 minus 2 to the power x, domain f x, you have rational functions, so the domain R intersection the domain for this function 1 minus 2 to the power x, and the domain is R since the exponent x, except the 0 for g of x, where g of x 1 minus 2x. So what is the domain for f x? R except 0. Why we accept 0? Since we have when 1 minus 2 to the power x equals 0, when x equals 0, since 2 to the power 0, 1. So the domain for f x equal R except 0, and this is range f inverse. Now, to find range f x, we must find f inverse. How we can find f inverse? To find f inverse x, let y equal 1 over 1 minus 2 to the power x. Okay? Multiply. So you get y multiply by 1 minus 2 to the power x equal 1. So this equivalent to y minus y 2 to the power x equal 1. Solve x in terms of y. So you get y minus 1 equal y to the power 2x. So divided by y under the condition y does not equal 0. So we have 2 to the power x equal y minus 1 over y. To get x alone, we take the inverse to the both sides to the function 2 to the power x. So take log 2 to the power x equal log 2 y minus 1 over y. So this equivalent to x equal log 2 y minus 1 over y. So what is f inverse x? So we get f inverse x equal log 2 x minus 1 over x. Now our question, how to find domain f inverse? What is the function inside the log? X minus 1 over x. This function must be positive. So to find the domain for f inverse Lx must be positive. Now, to solve this inequality, we have 0, 1. If you choose number like 0, like 1/2, 1/2 minus 1 negative. If you choose number greater than 1, positive. Less than 0 minus 2 minus 1 negative, positive. So positive. So what is the domain? So domain f inverse Lx from minus infinity 0 open union 1 infinity, and this is the same range Fx. To practice أكتر حاول إنك to find the same f inverse for the function log x minus 1 for the base 2. To find the domain for this function, x minus 1 must be positive. And the domain for this function, it is range f inverse. Also find f inverse and domain f inverse range f inverse for this function. لاحظ هذا الاقتران f x equal 2e to the power x plus 2. What is the domain? The domain R. Domain exponent. Now you want to find the inverse. Another homework. f(x), we define f(x) equal 2x plus ln x. Find f inverse 2. What do we mean about to find f inverse 2? That means 2 equal 2x plus ln x, and obvious x positive. What is the value of x if you substitute and you get this equation? So the answer x, it will be equal 1. Y, 2 times 1, 2, plus ln 1, 0. So we do it. آخر سؤال إنك تفكر فيه homework. f(x) equal the square root 1 minus x. What is the domain for this function? The domain 1 minus x positive. That means and g(x) equal ln x. What is the domain? X positive. Now our question, find domain f composite g(x). not if x equal 3 to the power x increasing function وكان الجراف له بهاي الطريقة 3 to the power x to the power x increasing function, and which will be approaches to the x-axis since the base greater than 1. And what is the domain for this function? R, and the range 0 infinity. If you take the function f x equal 3 to the power x plus 1, also this function is increasing, but the graph, this point 0, 1, 0, 2, and the range and the graph for this function, when this function approaches to 1 and y equal 1, later on it is a horizontal asymptote. بس للتوضيح الرسمة shift up, it will be not approaches x-axis, it will be approaches y equal 1. So in this lecture, in the summary for this lecture, we define two new functions, log L(x) for the base p and the inverse for this function p to the power x, and we must be able to find the domain, the inverse, and how to find the domain for the inverse, range inverse, and also we must be able to solve the equation. بهذا الموضوع we get to the end of chapter 0. So we reach to the end of chapter 0.